The world had changed long before anyone realized it. Beneath the glittering city lights, past the noise of crowded streets and the hum of neon signs, something older and quieter stirred. A hidden rhythm, like the heartbeat of the universe calling out to the few who could hear it. Among these chosen few were two men whose paths should never have crossed, yet fate stitched them together with a force stronger than destiny itself. Xiao Zhan and Wang Yibo. It began with a dream, one that didn't feel like a dream at all. Xiao Zhan woke in the middle of the night, breath hitching, heart pounding, the lingering echo of a voice still whispering in his ears. A voice that wasn't his. A voice that called his name with a strange familiarity, as though it had spoken it 1,000 times across centuries. The room around him was silent, but his pulse wasn't. It rushed like a tidal wave, carrying fragments of images he couldn't explain, a deserted temple bathed in silver light, a cracked mirror floating in the air, a shadow stretching toward him, and a man standing in front of him with eyes full of fire. That man was Wang Yibo. But Xiao Zhan had never met him. Miles away, at that exact moment, Wang Yibo jolted awake too, clutching the edge of his bed. Sweat clung to his skin, but his eyes were sharp, and angry at something he couldn't name. He had heard a voice calling out to him as well. A voice filled with warmth and fear. A voice that sounded painfully familiar. Yet he didn't know who it belonged to. Both men woke with the same thought echoing in the back of their minds, though neither dared say it aloud. This has happened before. As dawn arrived, the city glowed like a living heartbeat pulsing beneath them. Xiao Zhan stepped outside his apartment, unknowingly taking the first step toward the collision of two souls. People brushed past him, their faces blurring like streaks of color, but every once in a while, he felt the world shift, like the sidewalk tilted, like time paused for a fraction of a second. He rubbed his arms, trying to shake off the uneasy sensation. Wang Yibo felt the same disturbance as he walked through a narrow alley behind his studio. The air vibrated, as if someone had plucked an invisible string. His eyes narrowed. Something was following him or calling him. He could almost feel it tugging at his ribs, like invisible hands pulling him toward something he couldn't see. Neither of them understood yet that the universe was waking up around them. That night, fate snapped like a magnet. The city's abandoned district, once full of life, now a wasteland of crumbling buildings, had been sealed for years. But that night, a strange glow pulsed from its center. Authorities blocked off the roads, claiming it was a gas leak, but everyone knew better. The light was unnatural, shimmering like liquid gold. Xiao Zhan, unable to ignore the sudden surge in his chest, followed the glow. His footsteps echoed across broken pavement as he stepped deeper into the ruins. The air hummed with energy, swirling around him like warm wind. His hands tingled. His vision blurred. Symbols he didn't recognize burned faintly beneath his skin, crawling up his wrist like silver fire. Suddenly the world fell silent. And someone appeared in front of him. Yibo. The moment their eyes met, everything collapsed. A deafening crack split the air as the ground beneath them lit up in blinding white. The glow shot into the sky like a beam, cutting through clouds, bending the night into a strange, trembling shape. The entire district shook. Shards of glass trembled in broken windows. Dust swirled like a tornado. Xiao Zhan stumbled back, clutching his chest. Wang Yibo staggered forward, clutching his head. The energy wasn't hurting them, it was recognizing them. The world twisted, and suddenly they weren't in the ruins anymore. The ground beneath them had transformed into polished stone, engraved with ancient symbols. The sky overhead was no longer dark but shimmering with shifting colors, blue, violet, crimson, like a cosmic river. They stood inside a dimension hidden between time and reality, a sanctuary older than the universe. "Who are you?" Xiao Zhan whispered, breath shaking. Wang Yibo answered with the same question, same tone, same shiver. "Who are you?" But the question that neither asked, yet both felt, was more terrifying. "Why do I feel like I've known you forever?" Without warning, the symbols on the floor lit up. Golden lines connected beneath their feet, forming patterns that spun and wrapped around them like living serpents. The air trembled. Their hearts pounded in perfect rhythm, heartbeat mirroring heartbeat. Their souls collided. Flash. Sudden memories swallowed them whole. A battlefield drenched in rain. Two warriors fighting back to back against monsters of shadow. A burning temple collapsing around them. Hands reaching for each other. A promise spoken as the world ended. If we fall, we find each other again. The vision vanished. Xiao Zhan gasped, collapsing to his knees. Wang Yibo stumbled, catching himself on trembling hands. They stared at each other, terrified, overwhelmed, connected by something deeper than the earth beneath them. "We've met before," Xiao Zhan whispered, voice cracking. "I know," Wang Yibo breathed. A rumble shook the sanctuary. The color of the sky darkened, swirling like liquid storm clouds. From the shadows, a shape began to form, tall, monstrous, its outline shifting like smoke. Eyes gleamed crimson. The creature spoke in a voice that felt like knives dragged across stone. "So the lost souls return." Xiao Zhan froze. Wang Yibo stepped in front of him instinctively, body tense, hands curling into fists. He didn't know why he felt the urge to protect him. He didn't understand the rage firing through his veins. But his soul did. The creature stepped forward, claws dragging across the stone with sparks of light. "You escaped your fate once," it hissed. "But this time, you will not survive." The sanctuary cracked like breaking glass. A shock wave blasted through them. Xiao Zhan flew backward, crashing against a pillar that exploded into dust. Pain shot through him, but beneath the pain, something else awakened. Silver light pulsed beneath his skin, ancient, powerful, hungry. Wang Yibo charged forward without thinking, his body moving faster than his mind. Energy wrapped around his fists, turning them into glowing weapons. He struck the creature, sending ripples of light through its smoky form. The creature snarled. But something else happened as well, something electrifying. When Wang Yibo attacked, Xiao Zhan felt it. He felt the impact through his bones, like their energies were linked across invisible threads. Their souls weren't just connected. They were one. The creature lunged again. Xiao Zhan raised his hands instinctively, and silver energy burst from his palms like a tidal wave, slamming into the monster and pinning it against a wall of shimmering light. Wang Yibo stared at him, eyes wide, breathless. You can do that." Xiao Zhan looked at his own glowing hands in disbelief. "I don't know how." "You always could," Wang Yibo said softly. Their memories, though still fractured, were returning in pulses. In their past life, Xiao Zhan was the soul keeper, a guardian able to summon light capable of burning through darkness. Wang Yibo was the soul blade, born to channel raw energy into devastating force. The ruins were silent again, yet the silence felt heavier than the monster's roar ever had. Dust floated lazily in the air, glittering under the moonlight as if the world itself had stopped to breathe. Xiao Zhan and Wang Yibo stood there, both stunned, their chests rising and falling in uneven rhythm. It wasn't just the battle that left them breathless, it was the realization of what had just occurred. Power. The memories. The connection that felt older than the bones of the earth. Xiao Zhan looked down at his hands, still faintly glowing with thin trails of silver light that curled like smoke. This can't be real," he whispered, though every beat of his heart told him it was more real than anything he had ever known. Wang Yibo walked closer, his footsteps slow, cautious, as though approaching a fragile truth. His own hands flickered with dying embers of golden fire, fading gradually. "It's real," he said softly. "Too real." His voice trembled, not with fear, but with something deeper, something that pulled their souls toward each other like gravity. A soft wind passed between them, warm and gentle, carrying a scent neither recognized. Not earthly, not human, something celestial. Xiao Zhan lifted his gaze. He expected confusion or fear in Wang Yibo's expression, but what he found instead was recognition. A strange familiarity that locked them together even though they barely knew each other in this life. "Why do I feel like I've seen you before?" Xiao Zhan asked, voice barely audible. Wang Yibo stared at him as though searching for the right place in his memory to begin. "Because you have," he answered simply. Their surroundings flickered, just for a second. The broken buildings blurred into something entirely different. Tall stone pillars, flickering torches, a golden-framed doorway leading into darkness. Another life. Another world. Another time. Xiao Zhan gasped as the vision faded, replaced again by the cold, ruined district. "What was that?" he breathed. Wang Yibo closed his eyes. "Fragments," he murmured. "Echoes of the past. The same thing I saw before we woke up." The way he said "we" lit a strange warmth inside Xiao Zhan, like they were two halves of something whole, finally reunited after being torn apart for centuries. A crackling sound snapped him out of the moment. The ground beneath them pulsed with weak remnants of the sanctuary's energy. Soft, fading waves that felt almost like a heartbeat slowing down. The portal between worlds had closed, but its breath was still lingering. Xiao Zhan crouched, touching the ground gently. Silver sparks jumped from his fingertips, tracing faint lines that looked like the same ancient symbols he had seen earlier. "These markings," he murmured, mesmerized. "I've seen them before." Wang Yibo knelt beside him. "In dreams." Xiao Zhan nodded slowly. "Me too," Wang Yibo said. Their eyes met again, and the air vibrated sharply. Another memory surged between them. Rain pouring like a waterfall. A battlefield lit by blue lightning. Wang Yibo, armor cracked, face dirt-streaked, standing in front of Xiao Zhan, shielding him. Xiao Zhan screaming his name as shadows closed in. Hand reaching. A promise whispered in the storm. "If we fall, I'll find you again. In every lifetime." The vision shattered. Xiao Zhan stumbled back, breath trembling. He pressed a hand to his chest, feeling his heart race beneath his palm. Too fast, too strong, as though trying to break free. "That was real," he whispered. I saw us." Wang Yibo swallowed hard. "We weren't just fighters," he said quietly. "We were bound." The word bound echoed between them, heavy with meaning they couldn't fully grasp yet, but their souls remembered. A faint rumbling suddenly crawled across the ground. Xiao Zhan stiffened. "Is it coming back?" Wang Yibo shook his head, but his expression darkened. "No. But something else is waking up." The wind picked up, carrying a low hum like distant chanting. The air thickened, pressing against their skin with a strange weight. The shadows around them stretched unnaturally, curving in ways that defied logic. "This place isn't safe anymore," Wang Yibo said lowly. "We need to leave before." A piercing cry sliced through the silence. Not human. Not animal. Something in between. Xiao Zhan grabbed Wang Yibo's wrist instinctively. A spark erupted between their skin, gold and silver light mingling for a brief second, swirling like joined flames. They both froze, staring at their hands. "Did you feel that?" Xiao Zhan breathed. "Yes," Wang Yibo said, but his voice was softer now, almost reverent. "Our powers react to each other. Just like before." Before. That word again. The cry echoed once more, closer this time. Wang Yibo tightened his grip. "We can't fight again. Your energy isn't stable yet." Xiao Zhan looked at him in surprise. "How do you know that?" Wang Yibo paused, his brows drawing together, eyes distant. "Because I've seen you fall before," he admitted quietly. "I've watched what happens when your power overwhelms you." Xiao Zhan's breath caught. Wang Yibo looked away. "And I won't let that happen again." A strange warm ache spread through Xiao Zhan's chest. Not fear. Not confusion. Something else. Deeper, older, carried from the life they once shared. The shadows behind them twisted. "We need to move," Wang Yibo said, pulling Xiao Zhan with him. They ran through the ruins, their footsteps echoing across cracked pavement. The wind howled behind them, swirling in unnatural patterns. The shadows crawled along the walls like living black smoke, chasing them with unearthly hunger. Xiao Zhan stumbled slightly, his legs trembling from the energy he unleashed earlier. Wang Yibo instantly wrapped an arm around him, steadying him without missing a step. "I've got you," he murmured. And the strange thing was, Xiao Zhan believed him. Completely. The shadows lunged forward. Wang Yibo spun sharply, raising his hand just as golden energy exploded from his palm, erupting in a wave that pushed the darkness back. The blast was raw and powerful, but not enough to destroy it, only enough to slow it down. Xiao Zhan lifted his arm, instinctively summoning light, but nothing came. His energy had drained completely. "Don't force it," Wang Yibo said, pulling him close as another gust of shadow crashed toward them. "Save what's left." Xiao Zhan nodded breathlessly, leaning against him. Together, half running, half being carried, they reached the edge of the ruined district, where the normal world resumed. The darkness stopped at the boundary, like an animal afraid to leave its territory. Hissed, retreating slowly. Wang Yibo exhaled in relief, lowering Xiao Zhan onto a bench near the streetlight. For a moment they simply breathed. Exhausted, confused, awakened. Finally, Xiao Zhan spoke softly. "What are we going to do now?" Wang Yibo looked at him, eyes reflecting the pale streetlight. "We find the truth," he said. "Why we returned, what's coming, and how to stop it." Xiao Zhan nodded, feeling a spark of courage ignite inside him again. "And we stay together," he added, not sure where the words came from, only that they felt right. Wang Yibo's gaze softened. "Yes, always." The wind blew past them, carrying a whisper only the awakened could hear. The souls have begun to stir. And their story was only just beginning. If you enjoyed this continuation and want more, remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe to support the story and the channel.